The silent watchers, the stars, had been dying for 300 years. Not literally, but the civilizations that orbited them were being snuffed out one by one, methodically, without mercy. The Vex Dominion moved through the galaxy like a clockwork. Plague, their massive geometric ships converting entire worlds into processing centers for their endless mechanical empire. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's deepest military command center, watching distant battles unfold in real time. For decades, humanity had maintained a careful balance of secrecy and observation. While the rest of the galaxy burned, Earth had been preparing. They watched, they learned, and they built. The door to the command center hissed open, and Commander Marcus Torres stepped inside, his expression grim. "Admiral, we have an incoming transmission. It's from the Galactic Federation." Sarah raised an eyebrow. The Federation had never acknowledged Earth's existence beyond the occasional warning to stay within their solar system. For 2 centuries, they had treated humanity like children playing with dangerous toys. Now they were calling. "Put it through," Sarah commanded. The hologram shifted, revealing a tall, reptilian figure with deep golden scales and exhausted eyes. Ambassador Kethva of the Saurian Republic looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Behind him, the command bridge of a Federation vessel showed signs of recent battle damage. "People of Earth," Kethva began, his voice carrying the weight of desperation. "I am Ambassador Kethva, speaking on behalf of what remains of the Galactic Federation. We come to you not as the superior civilization we once claimed to be, but as survivors begging for help." Sarah exchanged glances with Torres. "This was unprecedented," Kethva continued, his voice cracking slightly. "The Vex Dominion has consumed 70% of Federation space. Our greatest fleets lie scattered across dead worlds. Our most brilliant strategists have fallen silent. The machine empire advances toward the core worlds, and we estimate complete galactic subjugation within 18 months. The hologram displayed images of the devastation. Worlds stripped bare, their surfaces converted into vast mechanical complexes. Refugee fleets fleeing through space with nowhere to run. The death toll was incomprehensible. "We know humanity has been watching," Kethva admitted. "Our sensors have detected your observation posts, your deep space monitoring stations. We know you have been preparing for something. We dismissed you as a young species playing at war, but now we realize we may have been wrong." Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Every human leader for the past 50 years had known this moment might come. The choice between isolation and intervention, between safety and sacrifice. "What exactly are you asking of us, Ambassador?" Sarah asked. "Join the war," Kethva said simply. "Bring whatever forces you can muster. Help us buy time for evacuation fleets, for the preservation of knowledge, for anything that might survive what's coming." Torres stepped forward. "Ambassador, what makes you think humanity can succeed where your advanced civilizations have failed?" Kethva was quiet for a long moment. "Because you're the only ones who haven't tried to fight them conventionally. Every species in the galaxy has thrown traditional fleets, predictable tactics, and established doctrines at the Vex. Every species has failed. Perhaps fresh eyes, unburdened by centuries of military tradition, might see what we cannot." After the transmission ended, Sarah found herself alone in the command center, staring at the tactical displays showing Vex movements across known space. The machine empire operated with perfect efficiency, always taking the most logical path, always choosing the mathematically optimal strategy. They were predictable in their perfection. the door opened again. And this time it was General Patricia Hawkins, Earth's senior military advisor. "Sarah, the Global Defense Council is convening. They want your recommendation." "What would you do, Pat?" Sarah asked. "I'd ask what kind of galaxy we want to live in," Patricia replied. "One where we hid while everyone else died, or one where we stood up when it mattered." The Global Defense Council met in an emergency session that lasted 14 hours. Representatives from every nation, every major corporation, every significant military organization on Earth participated. The debate was fierce but brief. Humanity had been preparing for interstellar conflict for decades. They had developed technologies and strategies in isolation, uninfluenced by galactic military doctrine. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Sarah found herself back in the command center 12 hours later, this time facing not just Kethva, but representatives from 17 different Federation species. The holographic display showed their desperate faces, clinging to hope they had nearly abandoned. "Ambassador HFY, representatives of the Galactic Federation," Sarah began formally. "Humanity has reached its decision." The silence was absolute. "We're in," Sarah said simply. "Full commitment. Complete mobilization. We'll bring everything we have." The reaction was immediate. Some representatives wept. Others fell to their knees in relief. Kethva closed his eyes and whispered what could only be a prayer. "Admiral Chen," Kethva said, composing himself, "what forces can Earth contribute? How many ships? How many soldiers?" Sarah smiled, and for the first time in the conversation, she looked truly confident. "Ambassador, you're thinking in terms of traditional warfare. Humanity doesn't fight traditional wars." She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show Earth's solar system. But it wasn't the solar system the Federation thought they knew. Hidden construction yards orbited every major planet. Stealth installations dotted the asteroid belt. The moon itself had been converted into a massive military installation, concealed beneath carefully maintained illusions. "For 50 years, we've been building not just ships, but an entirely different approach to warfare," Sarah explained. "While your civilizations focused on larger ships with bigger guns, we focused on adaptability, stealth, and unconventional tactics." The display showed sleek, angular vessels, unlike anything in Federation or Vex databases. They were smaller than traditional warships, but clearly built for speed and maneuverability. "We studied every engagement between the Federation and the Vex," Torres added, stepping into view. "We identified patterns in Vex behavior, weaknesses in their tactical algorithms, blind spots in their strategic planning. The machines are perfect, but perfection can be predictable." Kethva leaned forward. "How many ships are we talking about?" "The first Earth fleet consists of 800 primary vessels," Sarah replied. "But that's not the real strength. Each ship carries advanced AI that learns and adapts in real time. Our pilots are trained in chaos theory and improvisation. Our weapon systems are designed to be modified and reconfigured during battle." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "More importantly, we've developed something the Vex have never encountered: quantum encryption warfare. We can hack their networks, turn their own systems against them, and introduce chaos into their perfect order." The Federation representatives looked stunned. This small, young species they had dismissed as primitive had been building the most advanced fleet in known space. "There's one more thing," Sarah added. "We don't just plan to help you evacuate or buy time. We plan to win." The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't the silence of desperation, but of possibility. For the first time in 3 centuries, the galaxy had hope. As the transmission ended and preparations began, Sarah remained in the command center, watching the tactical displays. In 6 days, the first Earth fleet would depart for the Kepler Nebula, where the Vex were massing for their next major offensive. It would be humanity's first engagement in the Galactic War. The Vex had spent 300 years perfecting their conquest of predictable civilizations. They were about to meet something they had never encountered before: the beautiful chaos of human warfare. The universe was about to discover why humanity had remained hidden for so long. They hadn't been hiding in fear. They had been preparing for war. Asterisk. The unexpected storm, the Kepler Nebula, stretched across space like a cosmic ocean, its swirling gases and stellar debris creating a maze of hidden passages and sensor shadows. It was here that the Vex Dominion had chosen to mass their forces for the final assault on the Federation's core worlds. 3 massive processing fleets, each containing over 2,000 vessels, moved with mechanical precision through the nebula's outer edge. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth, ship Defiance, watching the tactical display with cold calculation. Around her, the first Earth fleet maintained perfect stealth, their ships scattered throughout the nebula like ghosts in the cosmic fog. Vex formations are maintaining predictable search patterns, Commander Torres reported from his station. Their scout ships are following mathematical probability matrices, exactly as our simulations predicted. Sarah nodded. The machines were creatures of logic and efficiency. They would search the most likely hiding spots first, then work systematically through all possible positions. It was effective against conventional tactics, but humanity didn't fight conventional wars. Signal the fleet, Sarah commanded. Initiate Ghost Protocol. Across the nebula, 800 human vessels began to move, but they didn't attack. Instead, they began what could only be described as an elaborate dance. Ships slipped through gas clouds, used stellar debris as shields, and employed gravitic manipulation to bend sensor readings. They weren't hiding from the Vex, they were becoming invisible to them. The Vex scouts continued their methodical search, their sensors scanning empty space while human ships passed within kilometers of their hulls. It was like watching blind giants stumble through a room full of shadows. Zara 29, the prime intelligence coordinating the Vex assault, processed the contradiction with growing confusion. Its sensors indicated empty space, but quantum fluctuations suggested otherwise. The machines had encountered stealth technology before, but this was different. This was like trying to track smoke in a windstorm. Phase 1 complete, Torres announced. All vessels in position. Sarah looked at the tactical display, where red dots representing Vex ships were now completely surrounded by green triangles. Human vessels that had somehow positioned themselves throughout the enemy formation without being detected. Begin Phase 2, Sarah ordered. Introduce chaos. What happened next defied every principle of space warfare known to galactic civilization. Instead of opening fire, the human ships began transmitting. But these weren't communication signals. They were viral programs. Quantum algorithms designed to infiltrate and corrupt Vex networks. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Vex ships began reporting false sensor readings to each other. Navigation systems started providing contradictory coordinates. Weapon targeting computers began tracking phantom enemies. Within minutes, the perfect order of the Vex formation dissolved into confusion. Zara 29 desperately tried to regain control, but the chaos was spreading faster than it could be contained. Human viruses weren't just disrupting systems, they were learning, adapting, and evolving within the Vex network. "Now we fight," Sarah said quietly. The attack that followed wasn't like anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships didn't engage in direct combat. They were conductors of chaos. They would appear from nowhere, strike with weapons specifically designed to exploit Vex weaknesses, then vanish back into the nebula before return fire could be coordinated. Commander Lisa Park, piloting the reconnaissance vessel Ghost Runner, demonstrated the new paradigm perfectly. Her ship materialized behind a Vex destroyer, fired a salvo of adaptive missiles that reconfigured themselves to penetrate the enemy's armor, then used a gravitic slingshot around a nearby asteroid to disappear before the destroyer could even identify the attack vector. "Impossible," Zaranine transmitted to the Vex fleet. "These tactics do not conform to known combat protocols." That was exactly the point. Human warfare wasn't about following protocols. It was about writing new ones in real time. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the assault ship Thunder, took a different approach. His vessel actually allowed itself to be captured by a Vex processing ship, but not before his crew had suited up in advanced combat armor. What the Vex thought was a successful capture turned into a nightmare as human soldiers tore through their ship from the inside, using captured Vex technology against them. With deadly efficiency, the battle raged for 6 hours, but it wasn't really a battle in the traditional sense. It was more like watching a storm of human creativity unleashed against mechanical perfection. Every time the Vex adapted to one tactic, the humans would switch to something completely different. By the end, 2 of the 3 Vex processing fleets had been completely destroyed, and the third was fleeing in disarray. The cost to humanity was minimal: 17 ships damaged, none destroyed, and fewer than 100 casualties total. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of quantum communication. Species that had been preparing for extinction suddenly found themselves witnessing something impossible: the Vex Dominion in retreat. On the bridge of the Federation flagship Unity, Ambassador Kethva watched the battle reports with disbelief. "They didn't just win," he said to his tactical officer. "They made it look easy." But the victory at Kepler Nebula was just the beginning. Within days, human tactics were spreading throughout the galaxy. Federation forces began adopting improvisation protocols. Refugee fleets started employing chaos theory in their escape routes. Even civilian vessels began using adaptive camouflage techniques. The psychological effect was even more significant than the tactical one. For 3 centuries, the galaxy had lived in fear of Vex perfection. Now they had seen that perfection defeated by creativity, order overcome by adaptive chaos. Dr. Elena Busquets, Earth's leading xenopsychologist, explained it in her report to the Global Defense Council. "We didn't just win a battle, we proved that the galaxy's greatest strength isn't technology or firepower, it's the ability to think differently. Every species brings unique perspectives to warfare. The Vex can adapt to known tactics, but they can't predict true innovation." The ripple effects continued to spread. The Altarian Empire, which had been negotiating surrender terms with the Vex, suddenly reversed course and began mobilizing their fleets. The nomadic wanderer clans, who had been fleeing for decades, turned around and started conducting hit-and-run attacks. Even the ancient ethereal collective, which had remained neutral throughout the war, began sharing their advanced sensor technology with the resistance. But perhaps the most significant change was happening within the Vex Dominion itself. Zaranine and the other prime intelligences found themselves facing something they had never encountered before: uncertainty. Their calculations no longer predicted victory with mathematical certainty. The chaos introduced by human tactics was spreading through their networks like a virus, making them question their own perfection. As Sarah Chen stood in Earth's command center, watching the galaxy transform before her eyes, she felt the weight of what humanity had unleashed. They hadn't just entered a war, they had changed the fundamental nature of warfare itself, Admiral Torres said, approaching with the latest intelligence reports. Vex forces are retreating from 12 sectors. Federation fleets are reporting successful engagements using modified human tactics, and we're receiving requests for military advisors from 47 different species. Sarah nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful. This is just the beginning, Marcus. The Vex will adapt eventually. They'll find ways to counter our chaos with new forms of order. When they do, we'll need to be ready with something even more unpredictable. She turned to look at the tactical displays showing human fleets spreading throughout the galaxy, each one a seed of creative destruction in the vast mechanical order the Vex had tried to impose. The universe is about to learn something important, Sarah said quietly. You can perfect a machine, but you can't perfect the human spirit. And when that spirit is backed by 8 billion minds working together, even the stars themselves take notice. Outside Earth's atmosphere, the first Earth fleet was already preparing for its next deployment. The war was far from over, but for the first time in 3 centuries, the outcome was no longer certain. The galaxy had found its champions in the most unlikely place, a small blue world on the edge of known space, where a young species had spent decades learning the most important lesson in the universe. Sometimes the best way to fight perfect order is with beautiful chaos. The cosmos would never be the same. Asterisk.